Hello and welcome to Arsenal Analysed. I'm JC. I hope you're doing well. Today I bring you another scout report on the channel, but something a little bit different to what we're used to. William Saliba. A lot of Arsenal fans won't have seen him play or even know what he brings to this Arsenal team whilst he competes for a first team spot against the likes of Gabriel and Ben White. So we'll be looking to break it down for you in today's video. And if you are looking forward to it, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you're new around here, why not consider subscribing, as it massively helps me and the channel out. But what will we be covering during today's video? We'll look to cover the basics, the player profile, in case some of you weren't already aware of who he is and what he brings. Then we'll have a look at his movement and heat maps from the past two seasons, whilst comparing him to the likes of Gabriel and Ben White. Then we'll crunch his numbers from Ligue 1 last season, before finally finishing up with his strengths, weaknesses, and how he compares to other centre-backs across the 5 leagues in Europe. So without no further ado, let's jump into things. William Saliba, an Arsenal player, of course, yet to actually officially feature in an Arsenal shirt. 21 years old, a hot prospect across Europe, finally broke into the international team. Plenty of experience last season in Ligue 1 with Marseille, and even 6 months before that with Nice, playing in the Champions League as well. So he's gone away and got vital minutes where he may not have got them in the Premier League this season when competing against the likes of Gabriel and Ben White. He is predominantly right-footed, but he can play just as comfortably as a left centre-back as well as a right centre-back. And even at times, he's been utilised as a right back. Very, very versatile, standing at 6'2", an absolute physical specimen. And where things get really interesting is that he only has 2 years left on his current deal. Many rumours are suggesting that he will look to sign a new deal before the season starts. But if for whatever reason something doesn't work out, he could be available for around £30 to £35 million. Let's hope that it doesn't quite get there. In terms of his heat map, last season whilst playing for Marseille, he was predominantly used as a right centre-back, very, very occasionally as a right-back. I would say most similarly to Ben White, not only in an Arsenal shirt from the 21-22 season, but also in the season prior when he played for Brighton. Now, when Saliba played at Nice in the 2021 season, he was used more as a left centre-back, and again compares quite well to what we've seen in a Gabriel shirt for Arsenal in the 21-22 season and the 2021 season. Now, this offers great competitiveness at the back, and other top sides in the Premier League like Liverpool, Chelsea, and even Man City, they often have 3 or 4 top centre-backs competing for those 2 spots. And this will drive better performances, not only in training, but hopefully in that starting lineup as well. Not only because he is a top centre-back, but because he can play a variety of positions. So technically, no one at centre-back is going to be safe next season should Saliba stay. Let's have a look at those all-important numbers, though. How has he got on in Ligue 1 compared to the likes of Gabriel and Ben White in the Premier League? So all of which have played solid numbers, 36, 35 and 32 respectively. Saliba having played the most minutes out of all players on this list. Unfortunately, Gabriel has picked up a couple of suspensions. Ben White, as we know, was injured towards the back end of the season. But that is another reason why you want a top quality centre-back, so that if players are suspended or injured, you know you've got top quality coming in. Now, with all due respect to Rob Holding, he's been great cover as and when we've needed him. But to have someone like Saliba is just head and shoulders and where we need to be heading into future seasons. Clean sheets wise, all 3 defenders on this list, 13 and 12, so good numbers there. Although in terms of goals conceded whilst featuring for the first team, definitely an area to improve, all of which recording more than a goal conceded per game. Now, Saliba isn't necessarily a player that's going to contribute with scoring goals from set pieces, maybe not necessarily his job, or someone who's very dominant at attacking those headers from corners and deep free kicks compared to the likes of Gabriel. But that height and physicality that he brings will certainly be a handful for any opposition in the Premier League next season. And very similarly to Ben White, no goals or assists in the season past. Not the reason why they're featuring in an Arsenal shirt. Now, we know that Arsenal do like ball-playing defenders. Gabriel and Ben White were often at the core and start of many Arsenal moves last season. Fantastic numbers at 89 and 84% respectively. But William Saliba, no stranger to getting involved in that build-up play or even playing those short, sharp passes, playing it safe, winning the ball back and laying it off to someone else who's able to make that killer pass. 93%, so some top numbers. Now, all of these guys on the list for chances created are less than 0.5. Not necessarily an area that I'm massively concerned with. Ball recoveries all over 5. However, William Saliba at the top of the pile at 7.3 per game, all of which in terms of tackles 1.5 and 1.4 respectively. So some solid numbers there per 90 minutes. Interceptions, Gabriel's was a little low at 0.4 compared to Saliba's and Ben White. So again, good solid numbers there. Clearances on the other hand, the Arsenal boys that featured last season at the top of the pile. And again, Saliba isn't necessarily a million miles away from where he needs to be in this particular section. Likewise with blocks, just slightly lower compared to Gabriel and Ben White. So in terms of numbers, those defensive numbers, before we get onto aerial and ground duels, everything is where it needs to be. Now, there is a question mark as to whether or not the quality of opposition is slightly lower than in the Premier League. But one thing that we do have to give respect for is Gabriel did come from the French League, from Lille, and he transitioned very, very nicely, very physical player. So I'm hoping that now that he's had that 18 months of additional experience in the first team and even being called up to the national team, he is ready and waiting. In terms of aerial duels, numbers across the board for all these players are exactly where they need to be. Saliba, a lot of people say that his aerial duels and aerial ability is one of the weaknesses of his game, but a lot of people say that about Ben White as well. But he has the best numbers out of all three when it comes to those all-important aerial duels. Those diagonals, teams often try to catch Ben White out at the start of the season, playing those balls over the top against that right centre-back position. But Ben White has fared very, very well. And with regards to ground duels, he is the second highest on the list. No stranger to getting stuck in. Very fearless. I love using that word when describing defenders. Young defenders who are looking to make a point. 65% success rate, 4.1 per 90 minutes, which is better than Gabriel, who we know does attempt to dive into tackles sometimes, but some real solid numbers. It's just whether or not Saliba can jump in quality from Ligue 1 into the Premier League. But let's have a little look at his strengths and weaknesses and how he compares to his peers in the same position across the top 5 leagues in Europe, as well as those European competitions. So strengths and weaknesses, as we've already identified, ground duels is often spoken about when associating your conversations with Saliba. Ball control, very, very comfortable with the ball at his feet and his passing. One of the top stats when it comes to passing in Europe. Aerial duels is one that we have identified as a potential weakness, but we'll have to wait and see. And even looking at his aerial duels across Europe, 1.55 per 90 minutes in the bottom 11 percentile. So certainly an area that needs to improve. Now, one thing I have put down on the list is attitude with 2 question marks. This isn't something that is necessarily a definite, but there have been many cases where his attitude has been questioned. There are even rumours to say that he's had arguments and falling out with Arteta. That is yet to be seen. We'll have to wait and see how things unfold. Personally, I think it's the media blowing things out of proportion. Him going away on loan to develop his career was definitely the right call, in my opinion. I know a lot of other people say otherwise, but we'll have to wait and see how he gets on next season. But having a look at how he compares to his peers across Europe, that first section there, non-penalty goals, non-penalty XG, assists, not worried about any of that. Really not at all. Shot creating actions, 0.67, putting him in the top 66 percentile compared to other centre-backs is actually really good. Not something that I was expecting. But one thing that I really do like about William Saliba, passes attempted, top 99 percentile for centre-backs. Passes completed, top 98 percentile in Europe. 93% passing accuracy rate. Progressive passes, 4.48 per game, 91 percentile. Progressive carries, top 97 percentile. Dribbles completed, so bringing that ball out from the back, really pushing on, asking a question of that opposition. And it's an absolute nightmare when driving at the midfield when this is centre back. Top 98 percentile. So some absolutely fantastic numbers there when it comes to his passing. Unfortunately, as I already mentioned, his aerials won down in the bottom 11 percentile, and some other numbers there when it comes to the defensive side of his game certainly need to be improved. But I think those numbers will definitely get pumped up when he comes to the Premier League, when he's training with the likes of Gabriel, when he's training with the likes of Ben White, and that's their competitive nature, that there's always someone there ready to take your place. So some really, really good numbers all round. And I know a lot of people, as I mentioned at the start of the video, haven't ever really watched Saliba before, haven't really seen what he's capable of, what his numbers look like and how they compare to others in this team. Hopefully I've educated a few of you today. Hopefully you've got a little bit of a better understanding of what he might bring to this Arsenal team next season. And if you have enjoyed today's video, a like would be super appreciated. And if you're new around here, why not consider subscribing, as it massively helps me and the channel out. But that's going to about wrap things up for me today. I'm JC, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe and take care.